All right, everybody on the line. I've got Kirt McDougall with Bison Transport. How are we doing today, Kirt?
Doing fantastic. Thanks so much, Bruce. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome because I'm talking with you, and I always like talking with people. Tell us what you're doing now. Tell us, I don't know. I want to get into your award, but tell us how long you've been with Bison, how long you've been trucking, that kind of thing.
Well, I came to Bison in October of 2011. Okay. So I've been here ever since then. My path to driving was a bit different. I started driving, actually doing a pedal run in 1982-83, and then drifted off into the music industry for a number of years, thinking that's where I wanted to go. And after a number of years in that, I realized this is just really not what I want to be doing any longer.
Okay.
And it was kind of just by fluke that I ended up getting back into the driving side. a good friend of mine was a long haul driver, and he had come to see me, and I told him, not really sure what I want to do. I just know I want to get out of the music industry. And he said to me, well, I'm heading down to California. Why don't you come for a ride with me down there, and we can talk on the way down. And I thought, yeah, that sounds good. And, probably 10 minutes after I was in the truck with him, I went, I always really kind of like being in a truck, and this might be something fun to do for a few years while I figure out what my next move is. And, then as the story goes for so many of us, it's like you get out there and suddenly you realize you're not housebroken anymore. It's you enjoy being out there, the freedom, the autonomy of being a driver, and everything it offers, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually missing it now. I stopped driving professionally at the end of 2006. So I drove for 25 years, but I became the boss. That was the worst thing I ever could have done. The boss of nobody. And I'm missing it now. I would love to get back into something, but I just don't have enough time with the schedule I've got now. So I'm thinking, it's just love it. I still miss it though.
Yeah, the freedom it offers is just really truly amazing. That's not to downplay the reality that there's some tough parts of it. I mean, really, I would say the toughest part of the driving thing is if you have a family, which in my case I did, it puts a lot of pressure on your wife or your spouse or partner because so many of the responsibilities around the house end up falling on their shoulders while you're out. So it can be tough on relationships that way. There's no question. I think it takes a lot of work to make that part of it happen. And you definitely have to have if you're going to be out on the road and your spouse at home, you definitely have to have a spouse that's a really strong person. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and that I tell that to people all the time, and it was worse back in my day. If you think I started driving in '82, back then when I left, my wife had no way of getting hold of me for like a week while I was gone. Like she had to handle insurance and whatever other issues came up while you're on the road. Nowadays, you've got some cell phones, you do have some communication with family, but I had to call home every night with a 1-800 number. I had a 1-800 number just for myself. I called home every night at 8:00, no matter where I was across the country. So it's a different.
Oh, Matt, isn't it amazing? Like when you look back at how much it's changed that way. I remember that I thought there was I remember when long distance out of the States dropped down to 25 cents a minute on your cell plan, and I thought, man, this is like hit the jackpot, right? Because no waiting for pay phones or bad connections in truck stops or whatever, right? It was just, things were so different back then. And even like, if you look at, like for navigation, right? Yeah. When I came back to it, after being away for like 17, 18 years or whatever, I was blown away at how the equipment had changed, but I was also, the way the rules had changed. Like when I left driving, the concept of dangerous goods and all of that really kind of just almost didn't exist, right? It was really in its infancy. I mean, I remember on the pedal run, we used to have like food and fertilizer and like you name it, anything that was going to a small town was on one truck. There was no rules about what could or couldn't be transported together. Hours of service were, how many coffees you could hammer down in a day kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was so coming back to it was a different world, but the communication side, going from having to, do everything through maps to, I remember when I came back, that's right when, Streets and Trips from Microsoft came out. I think it was like 2000 or something like that. So, you could actually at least sort of plot out your routes and look at them and then grab your road atlas and kind of look and go, are there any low clearance things and all of that? And now all of that's changed, right? It's so different, so much better for drivers in terms of communicating with family, being able to video conference, all of that stuff. Yeah. Different world.
I tell people it's so easy. We used to have to try and find a phone booth at 4 p.m. middle of New Jersey to call dispatch, by 10 o'clock or something like that. I go, it's easy. You guys got cell phones. You don't even have to stop if you don't want. I mean, we had to search it out and have it all ready to go and tell them our hours. You had to calculate your hours back then. That's when we actually used the old way of doing hours of service. You actually had to count out, go, I think I'll have 8 hours tomorrow. They wouldn't dispatch if you only had 2. So it was a different way for sure.
Man, it was so different. That's true. It's like, while there are certain things in terms of the electronic logs and some of the rules that I'm probably not the biggest fan of, just in terms of simplicity and giving you a quick snapshot of where you're at, that part of it has changed so much, and it's so much better. The communication side of it, that's such a huge part of it in the industry, because, like you say, I mean, it used to be to find out that there'd been changes, or whether it be something going on at home, something through dispatch, whatever. I mean, that used to be a nightmare, and now it's just, everything's instantaneous, and it's made life a lot easier, which also, I mean, from a driving perspective, I think is so much better, because it's taken a lot of the stresses that used to exist for drivers off the table, right? Back in the days where you'd be thinking that you had your route figured out, and then you see that sign in front of you that says you're in Chicago and the clearance is 11'9" or something. You know what I mean? It's we don't have to worry about that as much anymore. So it's a lot better.
Have you ever thought of? I want to go back to your music for a minute. Have you ever thought of combining your music with your driving? Because I have a lot of friends who are trucking musicians. They're driving, but they're also writing and producing on the side. And have you given up music altogether, or you kind of just put it on the back burner for a while?
No, I mean, I still love music and everything. I grew up around music. My dad was actually the first electric guitar manufacturer in Canada.
Okay.
So growing up as a kid, I was always around musicians and always around music and that kind of thing. I started performing when I was like 9 years old. Yep. And I did that for a long time. I mean, the last time I started, I was performing professionally was in 2000, just before I went into the driving side of things. I still do some playing and that kind of thing, but it's a fun venture now. I have I've got all my recording equipment and that kind of thing, because that was an area I worked in as well, was the digital audio side of things when I was in music. So yeah, it's but yeah, a lot of
inspiration on the road. A lot of inspiration on the road for you.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding. I think that's one of the great things too about being on the road, is just all of the different environments, the scenery you go through, the seasons, the storms, all of that. You're right. It's lots of inspiration in that stuff, and beyond that, it makes it so that you can have a pretty wide catalog of stuff to listen to, because you'll always be able to find something that sort of fits the zone that you're in, if you will. So yeah, I had to explain that to my wife. She didn't understand. There's different zones. I said, if I'm driving in the morning, and I used to run a lot of East Coast, and I used to run a lot of South. And when you're in the middle of the night, sometimes I don't want music. I want that. Paul Harvey was my favorite. The talk show guy in the middle of the night who can kind of keep you going with some jokes or whatever. When I was in New Jersey, and it was a lot of talk shows. When I was on the open highway, it was more a lot of music. I kept changing depending on kind of where my route was or where it was going. So it was an interesting mix of stuff to do for sure. That's oh man, that's exactly right. Wow, when you said Paul Harvey, does that ever bring back memories? What a radio voice he was.
Yeah, he's I love him. I listen to him. I used to listen to him all the time.
Yeah, he was amazing. I was going to say, like, I think that's one of the other things that's changed so much, that makes it so great for drivers now as well, is that with us moving into an era where data is so cheap, podcasts like yours, which are really informative and fun and keep you in the loop on things, I mean, there's such a blessing to drivers, right? Because I mean, and I know back then it was like, you were either trying to to get whatever you had for a stereo system to work properly, or bad radio stations or whatever. And now you've got access to whatever it is that you want to listen to, which, from my perspective, I think is great too. Because I mean, given the choice, I would have loved to have spent a lot of my life as a student just learning things. Yeah. And now the way it is, with accessibility to whatever lectures you want, whatever podcasts you want, etc., it's just so easy to sort of be able to go into the taller grass on some of the things you're interested in, and that's a really awesome part of the industry now too.
Yeah, there's no reason not to be educated in today's world. If someone's really lazy, if that's what they're, they just don't want to learn anything, because there's so much out there. I want to learn something about you, and one of it is, what is an STA Driver of the Year award? Okay, so I know what the OTA one is. What is the STA? Is that Saskatchewan, or what is?
Yeah, Saskatchewan Trucking Association Award. Okay. We probably know about the same amount about it. It's I mean, I'm really thankful to get the award, but the reality of any of these awards, and that, at least in my opinion, it's got a lot more to do with the team of people and the group of people you work with than the individual themselves. There's no way in anything in life that you ever succeed without having the good graces of being surrounded by good mentors and people that carry a lot of the weight for you, and certainly that's been my path in trucking and in life. I've had the good fortune of working with a lot of really skilled, excellent people that were there to answer the questions, carry the weight, help me understand what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, and for all of us in life in general, I think you can say that's a key to success for anyone, is being around really good mentors. By default, your life just gets better, right?
Yeah. Now, have you gone through the award reception yet? Like, have you received it, or are you still waiting on it, or where are you in the process?
No, it actually happens this Friday. It takes place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be on stage accepting it.
If they don't lock me up, I think I'll be on stage or something of that nature. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Because it'll be an opportunity to see a number of people I've worked with over the years as well, and catch up a little bit and say hi and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really I'm looking forward to that part of it. But in general, like I say, it's any of the awards that a person ends up winning, like I say, it's got a lot more to do with the people that you're surrounded by than the individual, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. So now, did you know about the criteria? Do you know what criteria? It's amazing how many drivers win and don't even know how they won or why they won. Do you know? I mean, I'm sure your safety record must be stellar to be in there. Is there anything else you've done? Did they tell you? I don't know what the criteria is for that award specifically.
I'll be totally honest. I really don't. I know it has to do with safety and that type of thing. I don't know if it has to do with some of the community work a person might do or those kinds of things. I'm honestly not that certain of it. But I'm assuming the safety portion of it is a huge part of it, and that's such a key factor. Obviously, if a driver's going to have a career, that has to be a major focus for any driver. Yeah. It's funny. Like, I remember when I got back into driving, I had never done long haul at that point. All I had done was, like I say, a pedal run that basically took me like 60 miles out of town and that kind of thing, right? And so when I first started going stateside and that kind of thing, it was pretty overwhelming, just kind of all of the different rules and regulations the person had to know, and all of the different things that way. I remember I was in just outside of Chicago at a truck stop, and I saw this guy pull in that had a truck, and on it said 4 million miles, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, he's probably a guy I might want to talk to, right? Because I was really new at the long haul thing. So I sat down and just kind of started asking him questions about his career and how he got to 4 million safe miles and all of that. And I'll never forget the major takeaway from what he had said is he said to me that he said, be aware of your surroundings and your circumstances. He said, you can drive whatever road you're on too slow for your entire career, but you'll only try and drive it too fast once.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, great advice, right?
Yeah.
And so I sort of tried to apply that to my approach to things. Knowing your limits, I guess, is such a key important factor. And then most importantly, working with companies that actually have systems in place that support a driver being able to have a safe career, right? I've had the good fortune of working for companies that, safety isn't just a word. It's actually, a cornerstone principle of how they do things. And, it's made it much easier to be there. But anyway, there you go. There's my long-winded. I don't know if I even answered your question, Bruce. But
you did. It's great. You know what?
Now you know.
If you're saying all the right things,
you know why my friends call me Blurty McToo-much now. There we go.
Oh, no, you know what? That's fine. You're saying all the right things. And I think in a world where, especially in transportation, where everything is hurry up and get there and you got to be on time and all of that, telling people, you know what, just slow it down and just be aware of what you're doing. And I think is a great message. I'm certainly not going to interrupt that because that's the whole idea of what we're doing here on this show. It's great to see that.
Well, yeah, it's like, I've met lots of receivers over the years that have said, hey, thanks for getting the load here on time and that kind of thing. I don't think I've ever met a receiver that would be saying, I really appreciate you putting that $500,000 of inventory of mine in the ditch and costing me, hundreds of man hours to get this all sorted out. So yeah, I don't think you'll never get that from a receiver. So yeah, it's the attitude. The attitude is, a driver is the only person in the final analysis. You're the one that has to take control of the situation you're in. Your attitude toward all of that is what counts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if something's going to be late. Communicate. People will always appreciate if you keep them in the loop. I think people will always be understanding and accommodating. They may not like it, but at least they'll be okay with it that way. And the goods arriving at their dock safely. It's important because let's face it, the downstream effects of a truck going in the ditch and inventory getting destroyed, it affects a lot of people in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention the image for our industry, right? Because trucking, it's certainly getting better in my opinion as far as the attitude some people have toward the industry, but there's the industry has faced its share of criticisms and some rightfully. You have the drivers that they're in such a hurry that they think it's a great idea to run 15 feet off the back of a car with 3 kids and parents in it. Foolish stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we've been seeing some horrible things out lately, and I've never run west. I've always run kind of, I'm based in Toronto area here, so anything kind of east of Nebraska, right down south to I kind of ran the east side. I never ran California and all of that, or Vancouver with the truck because we just didn't have freight that went that way. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't want to be gone that long. But now I'm seeing and hearing some horrific things about some of the ways some drivers are driving. And I used to put it off. I've always been protective of the trucking industry. I've always loved the industry, and I've always said, man, you know what? Yeah, what you're not seeing is the car that cut that person off. But with dash cams and stuff, I got to say it's not that easy to defend anymore sometimes, because they're saying, no, it was a truck. And I've seen some things do. What do we need to do? Just in your opinion, are you seeing that out on the road, or because a lot of it I think is ethnic, and I don't want to get into that fight, but I think a lot of people are just assuming certain races, that's the way they drive. And I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. So I'm wondering how we can fix that. Any opinions on what we need to do better in the industry to make it safer? You're an award-winning driver. You must have some thoughts on that.
Thanks for that question.
Answer. If you don't feel comfortable, don't answer. I throw that. I mean it in a positive way. I'm not looking to blame anybody.
Yeah, no, I know that. No, and it is. I mean it sincerely. It is a great question. I think the most important thing to remember is, number one, with vehicles, like, okay, and I've been one of these drivers in the past. In fairness, where I've let situations get to me and got being frustrated. Probably we all have at some point in time. But the key thing every driver needs to remember is, we're the ones getting paid to be professionals, right? So are there people out there in smaller vehicles that drive like fools? Absolutely. There's no question about it. But that being said, it's our responsibility to drive away from the accident, not into the accident, right? So it's always important, I think, as a driver, to remember that we have a responsibility to do everything reasonable in our power to avoid it. Read the road, be present, be in the moment, kind of thing. Don't be watching the latest YouTube video when you're in rush hour traffic. Yeah. It's like it's focus. Be aware of your surroundings. You are the one that can create the safe space, right? Like I'll tell you, we just came back from a holiday in Western Canada. Some friends of ours from Mexico are here, and so we were in our vehicle, and there were a number of times where drivers were like truckers were getting way closer than they should have been to our vehicle as far as riding the back of it. And it's not like I was doing the Sunday drive routine. It's just so the things drivers can do that are in their control, in my opinion, are be aware of the fact that we're in big vehicles. They are intimidating. It's not fun. It's not fun to look in your rear view mirror and realize that all you can see is the upper part of the grill of somebody's truck. That's not a comfortable feeling. So it's like, create some space, be courteous, don't play into the stereotypes, be the person that presents a greater image. And the other thing too is that, just out of respect for whatever company you're driving for, remember that you're hauling around a 53-foot, or in our case with the turnpike, a much longer billboard that is, showing your company name. And try not to be disrespectful to your company that way by having people send those, videos in that go viral on YouTube showing a driver doing something stupid. I guess take responsibility for your actions, I guess.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
And we all need to do that. And I've often been saying that, we try to do that. It's funny, my wife calls me Mr. Safety. I don't even think I'm Mr. Safety, but I've always been, in the safety role over the years, and, try to do that all the time. We all get frustrated and make mistakes, but Bison's really big. I always like talking about Bison's safety program because it's, from what I understand, one of the best. Yeah. And I do get outside of that, people saying, because it's a large carrier, people go, oh no, they're not as safe as it believes, but they keep winning. You guys win awards every year. You're winning an award. I go, there's no way that they could be an unsafe carrier doing this. So what are some of the things that you mentioned supporting yourself? This is why you're getting an award, because I'm assuming, the safe driving, safety program at Bison is supporting what you're doing. Is that, you want to talk a little bit about the safety program? Some of the things that maybe people don't really know about it. We know about the finishing program. What about the safety program?
Okay. Yeah. Well, the safety program is vast, and it really is like, in fairness, I was sort of, I was in that camp at one point in time where it's like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, it's all politics and smoke and mirrors and whatever. It really isn't here. the types of things that they do, for example, a lot of investment in technologies so that, just as an example, following distances with our trucks, it's set up so that it's constantly monitoring what the gap between us and the vehicles in front of us is. And if a driver infringes on that zone for too long, you know, the system will notify Bison of that, and safety department will get in touch with drivers and say, hey, like you're following too close. Here's the number of times you've been doing it. Here's where you were. So they really focus on, you know, keeping following distances safe, keeping speed safe, you know, checking the equipment. They've set up the system so that attention to any kind of mechanical issues, those kinds of things can be addressed. It's not a perfect system. There's no such thing as a perfect system. We're all human, so things can get missed once in a while, but they really do work hard on putting all of the systems in place, training videos, awareness videos, awards to drivers who are fairly consistent in their approach that way. Good mentoring and counseling for drivers that may struggle in certain areas. I mean, yeah, it really is a cornerstone of the way the business operates. The safety side of it. I mean, they've been the safest carrier in North America for a very long time, and there's a good reason for it. It's like you say, it's not an accident. It's very intentional. They work very hard at the safety side of it. Yeah. And yeah, and that's why you know, I really appreciate being here. I mean, even things as far as you know, they have bonus programs for the drivers. The more safe miles you get, the bigger the bonuses are. I know for me, for example, it's you know, between $4,000 and $5,000 a year is the safety bonus part of it for me, which again, you can do something with that, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and you know, I know over the years I've been working with Bison more so in Mississauga here, but I know Garth Pitzel, you know, from Bison, Rob Penner, all of that. I've known over the years. I've met them at conferences and stuff, and sat down and had a coffee with them. I've had Garth on the show here a number of times, and it's you know that they're not just saying this, because if they were just saying this, you'd be seeing something different. But you guys keep winning awards. How many million-mile drivers plus that you guys have? I don't even know how many you've got now. And I used to have a kind of a track on it, but I don't anymore. You've got a lot of people yourself as being successful, so they're doing something right. As an award-winning driver, here's a question I always like to ask: what would you tell somebody coming up? That there's a new driver everywhere. There's a new driver every day, probably at Bison, I imagine. But what would you tell them to get to where you are, to get to the award-winning level and the mindset? I think the attitude, you mentioned attitude. To get that attitude and mindset is probably the most important. What tip would you give to somebody who's new to the industry, no matter whether it's man, woman, whatever, as far as driving and being successful in this industry? Because you went out of it for a while and came back, so you've seen the outside of it as well, right?
Right. Well, yeah, no, thank you. That's a great question. I appreciate it. I think the number one thing to ask yourself if you're going to go into driving is, why do you want to drive? Like, is it just, are you just looking at filling a gap, or is it something that you're wanting to consider as a career? And if you are looking at it as a career, and believe me, it's a great career. It offers, well, I mean, I took my children and my wife places I never could have afforded to take them because of the ability to go all over. But if you're going to go into it, recognize that it does take time. A lot of people think that everything about trucking is pretty straightforward or simple. There's a lot of people who think it's, well, how hard can it be? You turn the key and go. There's so many rules, regulations, things about getting to know your body, when to drive areas, when not to. So research, take the time to learn about the zones you're going to be going into, where you want to be going into, how you want to set it up. Look at the companies really closely and the programs they have to support you. Because if like, I'll use Bison obviously because I think they're a great company and that's why I work for them. But they have great mentorship programs, right, where they don't just throw you out with the wolves kind of thing and, you know, have you figure it out on your own. They've got great mentorship programs, and that's what, if you're looking at going into trucking, you want to have a company that offers you a path to success that way. And the other thing is, this industry, there's lots of people, there's, you know it and I know it, there's tons of negativity out there, and I've been in that camp before too, so, you know, it's not like I'm, you know, immune to it. Right. But the most important thing is look for the people who have a positive attitude in the industry, who have been successful, and I'll guarantee you every one of those people is willing to sit down and have a meaningful conversation with you and talk to you about ways to be successful in driving. Yeah. And don't allow the negativity to override all of the amazing you know, benefits of being in the industry.
Yeah. I tell people that, you know, everything I've got is from trucking. I started at 17 years old. I dropped out of high school and started in the moving industry. I was in the moving side for about 7-8 years before I switched to the freight side. And I wouldn't, even talking on this podcast, would not be there if I didn't have a good career in trucking, right? And I've made my mistakes. I'm not even, you know, award-winning driver like yourself, but I've worked for good companies. I've had a good career, love the trucks, love the freedom, and I'm still able to be connected through this. And this is, but it's that training that I've got in the industry. It's the, you know, the experiences I got in the industry that allow me to do what I'm doing today from, you know, 40 years of life. And I'm 60 years old. So I've been in this a long time. I'm really, you know, getting up there as far as that goes. Right.
We're both in the magic sixes, right? But it's, well, that's the other thing I want to say that I think is such an important part of it. I'm just going to throw a couple guys out there that are very inspirational to me as far as drivers go. We've got a driver with our company. His name's Arnie Worms. He's 70 years old now. He just celebrated 50 years accident-free in the trucking industry in July. Now, yeah, I mean, that's an achievement.
Yeah, for sure.
And guys like him, what's the constant about people like him? I remember when I came to Turnpikes with Bison. Before that, I was all single van reefer and that kind of thing. I really didn't know anything, right? Like I was about as smart as a handful of Georgia clay. And guys like Arnie would take the time and say, hey, you know, there's other ways you can approach it. He was always like very helpful, and that's why he's had a 50-year career. We've got drivers with Bison like Ed Drader that's like in incredible shape. I'm not sure how old Ed is, but I'm gonna say he's well over well into his 70s. Yeah. Not that he looks it, but I mean, but point is he's still driving. He still loves it and that kind of thing. And that's one of the cool things about trucking is if you treat it with some respect and take care of yourself and your safety record and all of that, you can drive until you hit that point where, you know, you can't pass a medical anymore. Yeah. So it's not a career that shuts you down. I mean, it can go as long as you want to go.
Yeah.
And the other.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one other thing that's really amazing too is like Bison is an example. That's one of the great things and one of the reasons I love their policies here. They have so much flexibility. So they have everything from, you know, full-time drivers to truck share situations to drivers like Ed that just still love it, but only want to do maybe a handful of shifts in a month, and they accommodate that kind of thing. And that's another great thing is, you know, look for companies that are flexible that way, that actually are willing to work with drivers on multiple levels, right? That they're not just looking at someone to push a box from A to B. They're actually looking at it as a relationship between the driver and the company. And that's an important part of it. No question about it.
I was super impressed about, about a year ago, you guys brought in your load board system for drivers where you guys get to choose your own loads. And I'm thinking, I have never seen that. I'm picturing all the Bison trucks like in one area, like in Florida, right? Nobody else can get anywhere else because it's, so have you done that load board system? Is it working well?
No, for me, right now, I do a Turnpike, a scheduled run from Saskatoon to Edmonton 4 days a week. But I do have friends that have gone back to stateside, and eventually, whenever my wife finally decides she's going to retire, she's done it twice now, and was supposed to retire at the end of September, but she just keeps going, well, maybe just a little longer, so whatever. But I'll definitely get a chance to use it when I go back to stateside. But the drivers that I've been talking to that have been using it are really liking it because it allows them well in advance to kind of figure out on their home time when they're going to be departing again, to plan their time off stateside and that kind of thing for resets. And I've heard really good comments, and I know that the company continues to mold and form how it works, so it gets better like everything over time. Drivers seem to really be a fan of it, and I love the idea of that because it's you're right. I mean, being able to choose the zones you want to run in and how much what the window of time on the load is, that's cool. That didn't exist many years ago.
Not in my days, and some of the companies I work for, there's no way they would have implemented that without there being some major issues going on afterwards. So glad to see that.
Well, I'm laughing because you said you ran the Eastern Zone. I remember the first time I was down east to pick up a load at one of the larger carriers, and I went up to the dispatch window and looked and went, wow, I wonder why they need 2 inches of plexiglass between the dispatcher and the drivers. You know, it was a little. Those zones were a little more competitive and little tougher. So having something like a load board now where drivers can choose their own stuff, and that way you don't hear all the stories, because I know there's lots of people that think that every week that the planners and dispatchers and management sit down and go, which driver are we going to pick on this week and ruin his life?
That's right.
The evil cabal apparently doesn't exist, as the way I understand it. But the load board makes it so that it's easier for drivers to be able to set things up, and if they don't like the way it's turning out, the only one they can blame in that case is themselves. So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. It's amazing how it's changed, because in the old days, that plexiglass with the hole in it was so you didn't beat that dispatcher to death, and now we have it because it's COVID. So it works both ways. Yeah.
Good point. I never even thought of it. Hey, there you go. Someone had foresight, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something that was a crazy period for trucking to go through too. The whole COVID thing and how that affected things on so many levels, man. Hats off to all the drivers who were out there in the long haul situation. During the COVID thing, I was on my scheduled run, but all of the drivers that were out there and delivering the freight and moving it around in long haul situation, hats off to them during that period, because man, that was a tough period in trucking for everyone. Even I can't even imagine at the management level as well, right? For a lot of them trying to deal with that and coordinate that, and the goalposts constantly moving with government regulation and things. It was a nightmare situation. No question about it.
Sure. Well, I was happy when I saw everybody kind of elevating the trucking industry back in that pandemic time, and you're doing it now. So thank you very much for doing what you're doing, and keep doing what you're doing. I love being able to promote award-winning drivers throughout the whole industry. I mean, I do a lot with Bison. You guys are part of our program here, but at the same time, there's lots outside. I always do, dispatchers of the year, recruiters of the year, whatever whoever's winning awards in their space, I'd like to promote it here because I think we need to show more of that to everybody than the negativity. We got to kind of outpace it somehow. I'm not sure I'm doing my best. Hopefully other people are trying to do that the same way as well. But thank you for your time today.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for that, Bruce, and thank you for your program. Really appreciate it. There's a ton of great information that comes out, and what are you at, around 1,100 episodes now,
yeah,
right?
We're way up there. That's right. And I was talking with Tracy in marketing, and she says we're going to 2,000. So that's good to hear. I love it. I just enjoy talking, right? I just enjoy talking with guys like yourself. Just to be connected. It's like we're in a coffee shop.
It's great. No, you do a great job of it. And hey, I just want to throw a big shout out to all of the drivers that are out there doing it and keeping it safe, and also to all of the people on the operation side of things too that have to deal with us knuckleheads on a day in day out, and we as drivers we maybe have one or two fires to put out in a day. They have that times 50 or 75 drivers that they're taking care of. So hats off to all the staff that do that, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate your time.
Well, all the best, and good luck when you win. Don't drop the award. That's one thing. We did that with one of the recruiters of the year, their award. Don't drop the award when you get it, and just keep going. Enjoy your time for sure, buddy.
I'll try not to. Okay, Bruce, all the best to you. Looking forward to hearing some upcoming episodes for sure.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate your support. Nowadays, our online profiles of the company just pull right from the registry office to make sure that the documents are given to the officials. So why not make sure that you're official and in control of your work history? That's what Driver Verify comes in. All you have to do is go to driververify.com. Create your own profile. You can create a profile. You can put your awards and you can put pictures and you can put your resume and stuff. And you know what? It's searchable. It's searchable by the experience industry. It's searchable by the series. And it's searchable by you. You can send people a direct report. When you're set up, you don't need to say anything unless you start sending the reports. You know what? You don't even put it on your problem anyway. You need to do this on your own. If you're a driver, I'm in Walker, or an insurance broker, you can get this to you. So driververify.com, create your profile so you can get yourself in the command of your documentation so that you know your work history and then something that's presentable to the industry. You know what's really important to do? I want to do podcasting. I'm afraid driververify.com, like what I know. So I say some more investment. Get into it. Make some things for them. There was a great interview with we got a number of award-winning drivers in the Bison Transport over the next few weeks. So make sure you join us because there's some great information there. For sure, congratulations, Kirt, on your award. Keep moving forward as you say. Somebody else on that award-winning drivers in our industry. Everybody, thank you for listening to this. Join us for our places on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. This year, we listen to Retro Radio. You can go to mixcloud.com/radio for your registered business. Music and episode on Bison over at Retro Radio. Don't catch that out for sure. That's how they are. We have some cool fun. Other than that, we'll talk to you later. Subscribe. Please comment. Do whatever you want to do. Just have fun. Because this is me. So that's it. That's what I'm doing right now. And we will fix it. We got a better budget.